We're Stump'd. Conversation, information, and education. For amputees, by amputees. With Paul Neufeld and Chris Marshall. Made possible by Anderson Orthopedics and limloss.ca. Hello to everyone. Paul and I back at the table for today's interview and discussion. Today's podcast is brought to you by Anderson Orthopedics, where we specialize in custom orthotics and prosthetics. Come see the group of professional orthotists and prosthetists where quality, craftsmanship, and comfort is our most important goal. See us on the web at www.andersonortho.ca or call us at 204-837-7190. Anderson Orthopedics, where mobility is our priority. Paul and I took to the family aspects of the holidays. How was your holidays, Paul?
It was good. Like you said, we did. I spent a lot of time with family. I enjoyed it. We laid low a lot and really focused on our boys and our own little family and making sure that everybody enjoyed Christmas.
That's what we did. So we're back. We're pretty excited because over the holidays we reached some milestones with our podcast. Hitting well over 50 countries now.
Wow.
Seems to be really taking off. Obviously, that means we're doing something right.
It's exciting to see something like this grow. We're excited for the first 10, and then now we're at 1,000.
Yes.
And it's like, wow. It's like all we can do is talk. The rest is up to the world, right?
Yes, and they seem to be doing it.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of excitement here in the office because at first we didn't know how many people we were going to reach. We had set a goal of maybe 100.
Yeah.
And we thought that was exciting. And then we started to approach 500 and we were off to 750. And then I kind of made a deal with one of the guys here thinking that, it'll never happen, that if we reach 1,000 listens, that I would buy pizza for the office. So last Thursday, when we were at 999, we bought pizza for the whole shop here and they went crazy over it. And
awesome.
All that has to do with the stuff that the people out there have grabbed onto what we're talking about. And I think, there's so many of us out there that have so much knowledge. We need to give it back. And when you're an amputee helping another one, this information is coming from peers, not just from medical professionals or, able-bodied people. It's coming from people that are just like you, facing the same things.
We've all been there, and we sure all have different experiences, but they're all the same in a sense, right?
And we're all going in one direction.
Yeah.
Right?
Forward.
Doesn't matter how many legs or how many arms or doesn't matter which leg or which arm or what level. We all as amputees are going in one direction, trying to make the world a better place for all of us. So I think when that information comes across, I guess people kind of gravitate towards that and they look at it and they listen. Lots of positive feedback, so that's good. So we're back for another range. We've got some great episodes coming up. One that we're kind of looking forward to, next week we're going to have Christy Careau in here, who runs Core Mental Health, and she's going to help us with a little bit of anxiety and depression. And as you know, Paul, well as I do, even after 16 years, there was a time there where anxiety and depression, we slipped into that, and that comes along, I think, with the territory of losing limbs.
Not to sound cliche, but I mean, everybody feels alone when you're going through it, right? Yeah. And it's good to know that. I mean, not good to know that you're experiencing it, but I mean, to have someone close to you experience it and know that we can power through this, talk about it, and get through it. And there are resources for us is huge. It's a huge load off our shoulders.
Agreed. And I know Christy personally, and I know what she's capable of, and I've seen her be able to help someone quite close, and I know what she's doing is good. So we thought we would bring her in here to talk to all of us about things that we can do to help us. A lot of people face that anxiety about going out in the world for the first time. A lot of the people face that depression, when they're facing this world alone, or they think they're facing this world alone, and they got to figure out how to navigate all these new things.
Yes.
So when Paul and I were putting some lists together here, we thought we were going to take it in one direction. But lately, a lot of things have been happening around here, and a lot of the general questions and information everybody's asking me for is stump fluctuation.
Early stages.
Yeah, I think
Put
like
the first
early
socket
stages.
on, and
Yeah,
why doesn't it fit a week later? Right?
exactly. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. We all go through some changes day in, day out. Residual limbs change constantly based on a whole number of things. And really, that first 12 to 18 months, you're going to go through some massive changes. You've got to really let your stump shrink down to where you can see that bony skeleton. And it's going to take a long time, Paul.
You know what? I should have counted the sockets that I went through in the first 2 years, but I can tell you it's right around the 10.
Yeah.
The 10 number there. Like there's a lot. You will go through a lot of changes, and you have to address it, but be realistic about it. Take advice and take it to heart.
And it's not just one kind of change too. Like it changes how it feels, both internally and externally.
Yep.
It changes shape, right? Some of us have bulbous ends, some of us have loose ends, some of us have dangly ends. Triangular shape. Some of us have all different kinds of shape. Those change, and obviously size, right? Size is all dependent. Like we can go from one size to the next in one day. We can also reduce so much in one day that we have to fill up our sockets with huge amounts of socks. Like the changes happen
early on. Like you said, one day I remember adding like anywhere from 5 to 10 socks on in a day from the beginning. From the time I woke up, by the time lunch hit, I was already at five socks. By the time dinner hit, I was at another 5. I was at probably 10. And these things happen.
Yeah, and it's totally normal. You'll hear from both of us. Paul and I have both had different experiences, and sock ply is an issue that we all face. It's an issue that every amputee will have to face. Trying to decide what size of sock ply to throw on, dependent on how you feel that day. It's a huge thing. It also depends a lot on your activity too. In the morning, you can wake up, you're very less active, you just slept all night. And if you don't wear, like it's recommended as a new amputee that you wear the stump shrinkers overnight.
Yep.
And those stump shrinkers, when they're the right size and the right fit, they'll do a lot of controlling of that swelling overnight, allowing less fluid to build up inside there. Did you wear them?
Yes, I wore them pretty well religiously. I wanted to make sure I got a shape. I guess in my case, it was Peter the whole time. He was emphasizing that we need to get our final shape, and it's going to be a journey to get there.
Right.
But these shrinkers will definitely help that, and it'll day by day it'll get you there.
Yeah, I didn't know in the beginning. I wasn't sure if maybe I was given improper information or not, but I never had stump shrinkers. I had tensor bandages wrapped in that conical shape, starting from the bottom, pushing up.
I remember wrapping mine. It was out of the hospital before I even got my leg. I think it was just trying to move the fluids out, the swelling. But I started with tensor band-aids and moved up to shrinkers when I had a more somewhat consistent shape, I guess. Yeah,
the rehab team, they taught both my wife and I how to wrap them properly, using that wrap technique to push the fluid up and out. I never really had stump shrinkers, and if I did, I don't remember. And unfortunately, at this time, 16 years later, I don't wear them at night. And I can tell you that after all this time, I pay for it. The other day, I was just telling somebody here that the other day I swell up quite a bit overnight. I don't know if that's got to do with the weather. It's got to do with I'm not feeling that great lately. That cold flu season.
Eating habits from the night before, maybe?
Absolutely. It could be eating habits. It could be anything. But it took me damn near 3 to 4 minutes to get into that socket. I mean, I left, to get dressed only halfway down, and I had to continuously push. Every step you would hear that pew, a little bit of air.
And this is 15 years in.
This is 15 years in. I mean, I don't know. And when we say it is all dependent. Everybody wants the answers, and I understand that. But man, does it really it really has a lot to do with your lifestyle. And I mean, we were talking the other day, if you eat a lot of salt, you're going to retain water.
Oh, yeah.
Thus have a ton of fluid buildup, right?
Salt is I don't want to say the key to swelling, but it has a lot to do with the stump size. It's amazing how much your diet, and I don't mean go on a diet, I'm just saying your everyday eating habits, how much that affects the swelling in your body.
It certainly does. Other things are the food you eat. If they have a high salt content, especially like canned soup.
Canned anything.
Canned anything, yeah. Has salt content. It causes you to retain water. Alcohol is terrible.
Yeah.
That really affects your body and allows you to swell overnight. All these things cause swelling. And for the average, normal, everyday, able-bodied person, that means very little. I can tell you that without being an amputee, if I've done a weekend of fun and had some drinks and ate some chips and whatever, when I put my shoes on, my work shoes on Monday morning, my feet are swollen.
Oh, I bet. Well, you know what? I wouldn't even say it. The normies wouldn't feel it because you go for a night drinking, and it's not necessarily I don't know if it's the alcohol, but I think it's the food you eat with it.
I think so,
right? Mm-hmm. And well, it all plays together. Mm-hmm. But you put on, well, not your leg, but let's say you put on your pants the next morning, and it's that top button just doesn't quite want to close, right? And our legs will react the same way.
Totally, man. That is it. And I mean, if you close your hands and you can feel the swelling in your fingers, just think of what it's doing to your stump, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, sometimes we get a little impatient and we want to jump in there and slam right down, and it's just not necessary. And it has nothing to do with the socket or the liner or anything. It has to do with how you're treating your body the day before. Yeah. And you may swell up overnight, and you may have to pump that fluid out before you get down into that socket and feel more comfortable, and then let the fun begin.
Yeah.
Because once you're down there and you're pumping fluid out, now you've gone from not being able to get into your socket to where 2 hours in you're having to add socks because you feel too loose.
Here's a question off the cuff.
Yep.
Let's say we're running short on time. I slept in a little bit. My stump won't go on. What are some ways that we can reduce the swelling or maybe get some of the fluid out? Would you say elevate and massage kind of thing, or get a tensor Band-Aid around there? There's ways to wrap it and to get the fluid out, like the conical shape that we once spoke about. Mm-hmm. Are those good methods, or would you recommend?
Well, I mean, if we're rushing, you're just going to have to deal with it, right? You throw your liner on and you push down, and you just, And sometimes, I'll stand at the sink brushing my teeth, and I'll be pushing, a little bit at a time, I can feel it. I'll walk to the bedroom. I'll, start putting pants on, pushing a little bit at a time. Now, this, of course, changes because Paul and I are both in a vacuum suspension. But when I had a pin suspension, I dealt with that for 12 years. When I had a pin suspension, it took forever to get that pin down. And then once it got down, I mean, the pin affords you a little bit of luxury, because once you get that first click on your pin, you can put that quarter in or that knife into that lock and twist yourself all the way down. You can feel the pressure.
It's not going anywhere at that point.
No, and I mean that's one of the things that we had made it a little bit easier. It doesn't make it as easy because you're trying to get that first click down, and if you don't have the pin centered and in, it can be a real pain in the butt.
I understand.
If you have to reset your liner, make the pin straight.
Well, it's like for vacuum system. Like, I've never been on a pin, so I know where you're coming from, but I haven't experienced it. Whereas my vacuum system, I've always been on a vacuum from day one, and it's tough to get it in sometimes, and my stump, my case particularly, my stump was really sensitive. I could feel if it was swollen and I tried to get that seal in, that seal over top, that would aggravate my leg more than the socket would. So I would even have to wear my leg without the seal. So I would have, sorry about that, I would have the vacuum without the actual, what do you call it, the seal ring, right?
Yeah. Just to get started. And then once it started loosening up, then I could put it on. And as the day goes on, you lose volume. Yeah, and I mean, and that's, that's what you do. And then you pump down, you get in there, and then, then sock play comes into. And I mean, I don't know what method you use, Paul, but for me, as I go throughout the day, I love the pressure, the tightness. Mm-hmm. of a socket, it makes it feel like it's part of who I am. Like it doesn't feel like a dangly, weighted, whatever you want to call it, at the end of your leg. So I like it really tight, under a lot of pressure. That makes it feel like it's part of me. I never have to guess where that thing's coming through or where it's going to land. I know where it is in time and space. I feel comfortable with that pressure.
You know where the heel is going to land. You know where the tail is going to pick off.
Yeah.
It's just,
So I like that pressure. Some people don't like the pressure. I love that pressure.
Okay.
But if I can shake, like if you're going to shake the bottom of your foot, if I shake the bottom of my foot and inside the socket kind of feels like a little bell where your stump maybe hitting the outer walls or going back and forth or being able to twist in there.
Like right close to the knee, it's tight, but then at the bottom, it's just bong back and forth.
That's it, man. Yeah, that's it. That's when I know I got to add a sock so that I can feel that fullness. That's my method. And then I add a sock and push it on. Right. And then, I may start in a 3-ply. Some of you start in a 1-ply. I start in a 3-ply, push down. And if I feel full, I can walk a little bit. But who knows, 2 hours, I may need to add another 3 or go to a 5, right? Take the 3 off, go to a 5-ply.
Still to this day, you're not talking about before. Like this is current.
Well, I don't necessarily use a lot of socks now because of the elevated vacuum system. It kind of pulls you against the wall, makes you feel fuller. Okay. But yes, when we run and I use the Explorer, I'm in socks all the time. I either got a 3-ply or a 5-ply. I'm constantly using socks when we run.
So you don't have a boa on that foot either.
No, I don't have a boa, but it helps me feel fuller at the bottom, and for when I run, the tighter it feels, the better it is for me. So I get it super tight, almost painful tight, and that's how I feel comfortable. I mean, but this is experience that I have, right? You may be different.
Yeah, no, 100%. I haven't fluctuated that enough. The running foot, I don't have the cheetah, so it's not fixed to my socket, and that's where Chris is coming from, where the foot is affixed to the back of the socket, so you don't have as much adjustment at that point.
Right.
But for me, I have the flex run, so it just attaches like a normal foot would, really at the bottom, and then there's the post, and then there's the foot, and it's great. Mm-hmm. But so I have a little more adjustability with my run. Which, if I didn't have that, I would be in the socks.
Right. And so a lot of us use different. Like I have great, tremendous knee support, lateral support for my knee. So a lot of the times I don't use a full sock. I'll cut them in half so that only the bottom of my I have a lot of residual tissue that kind of hangs down, and that's because of certain situations. We can get into it at a different time. But so that tissue can be flabby and fall down. So I'll put a half sock on just to fill up the bottom half of my stump, and I'll leave the top free because I don't need more pressure at the top. So I'll try half socks and put a 3-ply on the half or a 5-ply on the half and have that built up at the bottom. And when I run, 99% of the time I'm adding half socks. I don't want any more medial lateral support. I only want it down at the bottom to make me feel a little bit fuller.
But your joints don't really swell as much, and they don't change shape or size. It's all the tissue. It's all the loose tissue that fluctuates so much.
That's where that volume builds up. And again, hey, like we're amputees. And the natural progression of the fluid doesn't go down to your foot and then back out again. We don't have that. So now we have to create the pumping action to get that fluid out, and that's where your stump will take that shape. And I mean, there's days, Paul, where it takes me 4 minutes to get my leg on in the morning now. Yeah. And after a full day of work, then grocery shopping, then at the gym, and then I coach volleyball in the evenings, I'll go home and mine will be a little triangle. Like I've lost so much volume throughout the day.
That's a long day, though.
That's a long day. That's a lot of work. But
a lot of people will have to do that.
And they'll have to do that. And I know it's frustrating, but as good as this life can be, there are some downfalls, and changing the sock play and working with sock play and making sure you stay full is an important part of your health and ability to move forward. And it also keeps your stump healthy. The fuller you are, the more tight you are in your socket, less movement inside the socket, and you don't get all that stuff in there, right?
You don't, like you said, you don't get the bell, you don't. it feels like it's part of you. It
That-
feels
that's
like
right.
it is your foot. I mean, it is, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not, it doesn't feel like an attachment, something I just threw on like a loose shoe. It's exactly that. Loosen your, like on your good foot if you have one.
Yeah.
Loosen your shoe and then tighten it later and see difference. That's the difference between a good fitting sock and a poor and a socket where you have too much space. Yeah, there you go.
and that's it. And I think that for me, my experience, Paul, you can speak to yours, but for me, the tighter the socket, the fuller I feel, the more pressure I'm under, the less the socket and the leg weighs to me. It feels weight free. The more it starts to dangle and become loose and become more of a loose appendage, I can start to feel the weight of the foot and the socket.
Yeah.
And I don't like that feeling. So that's why I try to get as tight as possible, because I want less weight, more natural progression. And that's what I'm looking for, and stuff like that. You kind of
I 100% agree. And with the caps, the
little socks.
the cutoff socks, that's exactly what I used to do too. I
Yeah.
had to fit it under I had to go below the seal, right?
Below the seal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And I think that's it.
If you're just really confused about what we're saying, talk to your prosthetist. He'll fill you in. But
Yeah.
we'll try to be as specific as possible.
But so many things contribute, right? We've talked about food, we've talked about anything, but weather too.
Oh, yeah.
Humidity causes tremendous swelling. And I know that, when we were on vacation there in the hot, humid weather, I knew that it was a struggle every day. Like, I would wake up, my fingers would be swollen, but also my stump would be swollen, my toes would be swollen. The humidity can cause swelling as well. And that's where, if you're wearing stump shrinkers or tensor bandages or whatever at night, that can limit the amount you swell based on your outside conditions as
so
well.
Absolutely mitigate the amount of the volume that you lose.
Right.
Perfect.
But it's your own choice. If
Or
you
gain,
don't,
rather.
yeah. It's your own choice too. If you choose not to wear stump shrinkers, then the outcome is going to be the fact that you're going to swell by the morning and you're going to struggle to get into your leg.
Yeah.
And that's got nothing to do with the leg or the socket. That's got to do with a choice that you made that night or during the day. Like, if you don't wear them, you don't wear them. I don't wear them.
This can happen anywhere from early stages of amputation to a decade in. Like,
Yep. Something we all face.
everybody's stump is different. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's situation is different. We just have to accept that and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just trying to take what information works for you.
Yep. But we've used half socks and full socks and 3-ply and 5-ply and 1-ply.
Yep.
And I can tell you that on average, once you get your leg, once you get up to about that 12 to 15 ply, that's when you need to make the call. And sit down with your prosthetist, and then they can decide, if casting is now new, is it time? But that's kind of the generality of that 12 to 15 sock range is when you should be making the call. If you're in 3-ply or 5-ply, you're going to have to stick it out a bit longer. Yeah. Really work your socks. Really, figure out where you're at and make that thing feel a little bit fuller.
It may not be 100% at that point, but I mean, it's a journey. You'll get there.
And on average, if you average out everybody, the research shows that 1 to 2 year mark, that 18 months to 2 years, 18 to 24 months, 24 months into 30 months,
Yep.
That's when you start to see a little bit more stabilization. That's when you start to see less and less every day of the dramatic, right? Within that first year, you're seeing dramatic changes. You could start in the morning with 0-ply and end up with 12-ply at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so dramatic. But usually about that 18 months to 24 months, even up to 30 months, that's when you start to see a little bit more stabilizing. Things start to slow down a bit. Sometimes, one day you might wear 5-ply all day,
Yeah.
and then the next day back into 0. You should start to see it, but that's not for everyone again.
No.
This is a generality. We're speaking in general terms here.
General terms. So you're going to probably go on Facebook and see some superstar amputee that's 3 months in and say, I'm on my final socket. And you're like, get out of here.
Get out of town,
Yeah.
yes.
So yeah, there are those unusual cases
Right.
where some people mature faster than their bodies mature faster than others.
Yep.
But then there's also the opposite end of the spectrum where you might be doing this for the next 5 to 10 years. It's just part of it. But it'll be your new normal. It'll be your new life.
And you got to find that. And I agree. That's a great point, Paul, is that, yeah, you're going to see these guys in definitive sockets 3 months in and stuff like that. And I know it's kind of a pain in the butt to watch that when you're not that guy. Because I know everybody wants to get into a definitive with graphics and really show off. And you got to give it time. You got to put it. It's like a journeyman apprentice relationship. You have to put in the time in order to get to the gravy, right?
It's experience.
Yeah, it's experience, and pretty soon, you know what, you're going to look back and you're going to realize, you did go through some stuff, but it'll all be worth it. So when you'll start to stabilize there, again, we're talking a ton of factors, right? We're talking in health now. And those of you that suffer with a disease that has maybe cost you the limb, whether it's diabetes or any other, you're managing a disease. Yeah. Paul and I aren't managing a disease.
We got lucky.
We did. If you can use the term lucky in any way, that's it.
I would.
We had a traumatic accident, caused the loss, and we move on. Those of you managing disease, you have to balance two acts now. You got to balance the amputee life with your disease. So that could send your residual limb into a tailspin. It could take you longer to recover from surgery. It could take you longer to for your scar to heal. It could cause way more swelling than we do.
We talked to the Canadian diabetes, and they were saying it's gonna take longer to heal, right? And fluid just doesn't move. Your body doesn't react the same way to injury that it once did.
Right. Those are all huge managing issues when you're trying to deal with the fluctuation in your stump. But what I guess, now almost 30 minutes in, all we're trying to tell you is that this is stuff that we face every day. Yeah. This is part of being an amputee. We have to do it. Paul and I sit here behind microphones and talk to you. And the only reason we're bringing this message to you is because it's something that him and I deal with. Everyone out there deals with. And when we talk to other amputees, it's the same thing. Everybody deals with the same kind of issues that we all deal with.
My ampuversary, as I like to call it, is coming up in 11 days. And so it'll be 4 years at that point that I will have had my surgery, my elective amputation. And like I said, I'm still experiencing these things. I have a different system on my socket. It's called, like we mentioned, the BOA. So there's that tightening system. And so my socket has a membrane inside of it, which I can crank down on. And so I don't use socks, but I did before I got this socket. Before I got this system, I should say. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I do experience volume change as well still. I just handle it differently, but these are all steps that we went through to get to the point where we are now.
Yeah. Yep. And if you want to have some fun, take your leg off for a week and walk with crutches. Then you'll see some real fluctuation and some fun trying to put your leg back on.
You'll start to appreciate all those liners real quick.
And I mean, that changes too, right? Everybody has a liner, and from one appointment to the next, you can change the actual size of your liner. And again, those are huge items too. Like once you change the size of your liner, I mean, everything becomes fuller. Yeah. The best described, it feels like a new pair of socks out of a package. When you slide that sock on, it feels good, comfortable, tight. It'll never slide down. The elastics are healthy. Everything's good. Yeah. And then by day 26, that sock is becoming a little bit old, right? And that's just what it is being an amputee dealing with fluctuation in your stump. And it's something that we all deal with. Yeah. So fight hard through it, right? Because it's not going to change.
No, and you'll feel confusion. It's just like, why am I wearing no liners today, but yesterday I had 10 of them on? And I was like, okay, yesterday I was convinced that I'd be seeing my prosthetist for a recasting. It's like, I need a new socket, but today I can barely get my stump in there. So be patient with yourself, with your body, with your stump.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one. That's one of the most important things is to be patient. I mean, it is recommended that you wear those stump shrinkers, and they can help you. Yeah. But when you put your leg on the morning, before you think that it's something external, make sure internally you've done everything right the night before. Because if you have, you are one of those perfect human beings. Because every day I wake up, it's a different thing. And, who knows what's going to happen.
Some days just suck more to wake up.
But we keep working on it. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, you're free to get a hold of both of us on Facebook. You can give us a call here at 204-229-3178. You can also email chris@limloss.ca. We'll try to get you as much information as we can, but you're more than welcome to give us a shout, drop us a line, let us know how things are going. And also, if you have any questions or topics you want answered, we'll try and do our best to get you those and see how things are going.
If we didn't touch on something today about the fluctuations, let us know and we'll try to touch on that next one.
And hopefully you've learned something from today, and we'll move on. Till next time, we'll see you soon.
All right, take care, folks.